It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of March 3rd, 2000. We got 5 movies to look at today, so let's go ahead and jump on into it. We'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, and that is Rupert Everett and Madonna in the romantic comedy The Next Best Thing. Or at least this is supposedly a romantic comedy, except, a little problem here. As you can see from that trailer, you have a heterosexual woman played by Madonna and a gay man played by Rupert Everett who decide to have a child together. 5 years later, she falls in love with a heterosexual man and wants to move away from him and Robert's son Sam, and a nasty custody battle ensues. So, it's kind of like trying to be the next Kramer versus Kramer, I guess, except Dustin Hoffman's character is gay and Meryl Streep is not. I mean, I don't know what the hell is going on in this movie. Who thought this was a good idea? But then again, this writer has written some great works in the past, such as Loverboy with Patrick Dempsey, and Look Who's Talking Now, and The Kiss, and yeah, this thing was done on arrival from the get-go, and what another movie with a director going out on a low point in his career, because this director, John Schlesinger, only died 3 years after this movie came out, and boy, what a horrible movie to go out on, because, man, this is terrible. And supposedly this was rewritten extensively, not just by Rupert Everett, but of all people, Ryan Murphy. That Ryan Murphy, the guy who gave us Glee, the guy who gave us Nip Tuck, American Horror Story. And it gets even weirder from there. This was supposedly a movie that was supposed to be made with Richard Dreyfuss and Helen Hunt to star in it in 1995. I mean, just, this thing should never, ever have gotten past the scripting process. They needed to go back in there, rewrite this into a way that this could have worked. But even then, this one probably couldn't even do that. It would take some of the greatest screenwriters of all time, and they probably would have never, ever found a way to make this work. This is a film that just feels like too much is going on here, and it's trying to be like a serious comedy. Like I said, trying to be kind of like a Kramer versus Kramer for a new generation, but man, this thing just falls apart so quickly. It's a shame, too, because Madonna has made a lot of good movies where she has been a pretty good actress, and she's not terrible in this, but at the same time, she's not really given a whole lot to do, because her character, as well as Rupert Everett's character, none of this makes any sense whatsoever. Why they would decide to have a child together, and I mean, maybe you could probably do. I mean, there are ways to do it, but this movie just feels so tone deaf. It just feels like a film that does not know exactly what the hell it wanted to do in terms of the story, what was the end goal for this whole thing, and again, this writer is not helping things when his script. This guy has written some of the worst movies of recent memories, but recent of the time period. But yeah, this is not a good movie. This is not a good film at all. This is a waste of a lot of great talent in here. Not just the two leads. Benjamin Bratt's also in here. So is Michael Vartan, Lynn Redgrave, Neil Patrick Harris, Elena Douglas, Mark Valley, Linda Larkin. I mean, there is a lot of good talent in this film, just being wasted on a film that was clearly dead on arrival. And yeah, this is a mess. This is a mess of a film that should have never gotten past the writing process to begin with, until they actually got a good script that actually doesn't feel like it's completely missing the point of what it's trying to accomplish. This is just, it's just a mess of a film. Avoid this one like the plague. So, with that said, on to our next movie, and that is another star-studded film, Drowning Mona. Okay, I already saw the problem with this right away. PG-13 dark comedy. You can't have a dark comedy at PG-13 and expect it to be a hit. Like, go all R or just don't make the movie at all. You have the story here about a police officer played by a police chief played by Danny DeVito, who investigates the murder of this person played by Bette Midler, who's a spiteful, hard-drinking, loudmouth, abusive woman hated by all who knew her. Basically the Karen before we got the term Karen, who drove her son's car off a cliff and drowned in a river. And a lot of good talent in this film, but again, kind of like with a couple of other movies we've looked at as of late, it doesn't know exactly what it wants to do to be in that tone, to give the tone that it wants to have. Like I said before, you can't do a PG-13 dark comedy and expect it to work as well as it does. as it does. You either go or hell, Danny DeVito knows this all too well. He made one of the best dark comedies of all time in The War of the Roses, which was rated R. I mean, it's just bad. It's like a bad sitcom comedy in a way. It wastes too many good, talented people. You see the cast in there, and just there's nothing about this movie that's worth it in the end. It's just a really lackluster comedy that doesn't go all in as it should, and just wants to gets the cheapest laughs out of you possible by doing something completely stupid, and it just doesn't work. It's not a funny movie. It's not an engaging film. It wastes way too many talented people in the long run. It's just a mess. It's a mess of a film on so many levels. Avoid this one like the plague. So, with that said, on to our next movie, and that is Three Strikes. Yet another misguided comedy that has no idea what the hell it wants to do. You have Brian Hooks playing a character who is just released from jail after the state adopts a 3 strikes rule for felons that includes serious penalties. Hooks has 2 strikes and wants to change his life for the better. When a friend picks him up, they are pulled over and his friend shoots at police officers and Hooks escapes. Now Hooks, a wanted man, must clear his name or of having nothing to do with the shooting. And you would think that there would be something to this, but nope. Nope, not at all. I mean, this guy's probably a good actor. I've never seen him in anything significant except for Eve, but even then, his most notable role that he had besides those two is Soul Plane, which isn't really a good thing to have on your resume. But I don't know. This is a film that just didn't work as well as I think they wanted it to. I think they were trying to create The Next Friday. That's why they got the writer and the producer of Friday to direct this film. And you also have the producers of Dumb and Dumber on it, which those are the only 2 reasons why this movie had any notability whatsoever. They opened this on a Wednesday, thinking that this was going to be the next big comedy hit, and it didn't even hit $10 million. I mean, this is a film that is just like you see in the trailer too. You don't even know if it's supposed to be taken seriously or not. This is just a clustered mess of a film. Not good direction, not good comedy. Doesn't really even have a good plot to begin with, and it's just a waste on so many different levels. Like a film that was clearly bad. They had it sitting on a shelf for a number of years, and they just put it out to try to make a quick buck, and nobody was buying. So yeah, 3 strikes. Basically, we have 3 strikes so far. So surely we got to get better from here. I mean, let's take a look at our next film and see if we can fix anything. See if we can get better than that. Let's see. What planet are you from? By God, it tried. You have a story here. When the leader Gradon of a highly developed civilization without emotion and composed only by asexual men reproduced by cloning devices to invade Earth, he sends his best student, played by Gary Shandling, to impregnate a woman. He is fitted with a humming penis, which, I mean, I could stop right there, but I'm going to keep going. I feel like I have to keep going. He is fitted with a humming penis and uses the identity of a banker in Phoenix. Harold is clumsy with women until he meets the promiscuous and alcoholic Susan, played by Annette Bening, in an AA meeting, and she tells him that she will only have sex when she gets married. Harold proposes Susan to get married when to get in her pants, and when she says that she is pregnant, he has some emotion. Meanwhile, the Federal Aviation Administration agent Roland Jones, played by John Goodman, suggests that Harold is an alien. That premise alone is probably one of the reasons why you should probably stay away from this film, because, by God, it sounds incredibly insane, and considering that this comes from the director of Mike Nichols, a director that gave us The Graduate, and his last couple of years did have a couple of decent films, like The Birdcage, Primary Colors, Closer, Charlie Wilson's War. This is a film that just feels like, what the hell is even the point of this movie? I mean, a great cast overall. Gary Shandling, Annette Bening, Greg Kinnear, Ben Kingsley, Linda Fiorentino, John Goodman, Richard Jenkins, Judy Greer, Nora Dunn. There is a really talented cast on board here, and a good writing team. This is the same people that, most of the people on here are the same people that wrote for stuff like Men in Black. Gary Shandling and Peter Tolan wrote for the Larry Sanders Show. And at times, it does have those moments where there is some good comedy, like in the beginning of the film. It has it has the Columbia Pictures logo, Torch Lady, with Annette Bening's face plastered on her because that was a studio in joke, because everyone thought when that Columbia logo came out in 1993, they thought that the model was modeled off of Annette Bening, but that has since been debunked. But it's a nice little fun little gag that they have there. But other than that, though, there's an idea here that could work, but it doesn't have the right material to make it work. And this is a film they put a lot of money into. It $60 million this film cost. It barely made $14 million worldwide. Yeah, so that should pretty much tell you everything you need to know about this film. It's just like, it has some ideas that could work. It has a good concept, good people on board, but too many different writers in this movie really kind of overtook what this film probably should have been. I mean, it feels like they were trying to create a Men in Black style comedy because they got one of the writers of Men in Black, Ed Solomon, who also wrote Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, but it feels very weird. It feels like it was a film that should have been so much different than I think they wanted it to, but it just didn't live up to what they really thought it could have been. I mean, there's a lot of potential there for something interesting, but sadly, it just doesn't work in here. So, unfortunately, I have to give this one a hard pass as well. So, we are not doing good so far this week. So, maybe we can turn the mold on the last film that we have here. Forest Whitaker as Ghost Dog, The Way of the Samurai. So, Ghost Dog, The Way of the Samurai, that is such a weird title and a weird trailer, but, you basically have Forest Whitaker playing this character who's a hitman in the employ of the mafia who follows the ancient code of the samurai, as outlined in the book of Yamamoto Tsutomu's recorded sayings, Hakakuri. And it's a film that probably should not work because it has so many different things about it that just makes it feel like, what the hell are they thinking? What the hell are they doing? But shockingly, it's probably the best movie we have this week because it is so inventive and so unique. This is Jim Jarmusch who directed this film. I think this was his first film he did after Dead Man, which was a very underrated film, honestly. And he also gave us Coffee and Cigarettes and Broken Flowers. But it's a very weird film, but weird in a good kind of way. It's a film that really does feel unique and very different compared to what you would see from a film like this that should be a disaster on so many fronts, because it feels like they're bringing two different elements in here that should not mix, and yet somehow it manages to work itself so well. Forest Whitaker really gives a really strong performance. You could tell that this film has a lot of inspiration towards it. It's trying to do something unique and different, and for the most part, it does it pretty well. It's a very underrated film, and it's a film that really was one of the strongest, easily the strongest movie that came out this particular weekend, which really isn't saying a whole lot, because all four films we looked at before this were not that great, but this is actually something I highly recommend checking out. Definitely seek this one out. Ghost Dog, The Way of the Samurai. It looks weird, the trailers look weird, but it's worth it when you watch it in the end. And so on that note, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. Next time we meet, we'll have 3 films to look at, including Brian De Palma's Mission to Mars, which, believe it or not, is actually based on a Disney ride. I did not know this, but does it make the movie good? Probably not. But we also have Roman Polanski's The Ninth Gate, and a film that I completely forgot came out a couple weeks before this in limited release, but opened wide on this last weekend that we were looking at, and I didn't even see it until the last minute, but we're going to talk about it next time. My Dog Skip, which is a film I saw in theaters, but we'll take a look at those 3 films on the next episode. But until then, thank you very much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the place on the next page, check out the previous episode, and also don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So, with that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care. Let me do that again. Take care. There we go. There we go.